Chapter 4. The Feast. Albus Dumbledore rose from his seat at the staff table, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the Great Hall. Welcome to a new year at Hogwarts. Before we begin our banquet, I would like to say a few words, and here they are: nitwit, blubber, oddment, tweak. Thank you. Neville found himself caught between confusion and amusement at Dumbledore's peculiar speech, unsure of what to make of the headmaster's cryptic words. However, as the applause died down and Dumbledore settled back into his seat, Neville couldn't help but smile at the sheer eccentricity and charm of the headmaster. As Neville looked down at the Gryffindor table, his eyes widening in amazement. The golden plates in front of him were now laden with a sumptuous feast, a mouth-watering spread of dishes that seemed to stretch on endlessly. Neville's stomach rumbled in anticipation as he took in the array of delectable foods spread out before him. The tantalizing aroma of roast beef, roast chicken, pork chops, lamb chops, and an assortment of other savory meats filled the air, mingling with the comforting sense of potatoes, vegetables, and rich gravies. The sight of the food made Neville's mouth water, and he couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude for the generous spread laid out before him. As Neville took his first bite, a smile spread across his face. The food was exquisite, each dish bursting with flavor and warmth. The roast beef was tender and succulent, the roast chicken perfectly seasoned, and the pork chops and lamb chops cooked to perfection. The sides of potatoes, peas, carrots, and Yorkshire pudding complemented the main dishes beautifully, creating a symphony of flavors that danced on Neville's tongue. His attention momentarily drawn away from his plate of delicious food by a ghostly figure. The ghost, dressed in a ruff and looking rather forlorn, gazed longingly at Harry as he cut into his steak.
"That does look good,"
the ghost remarked wistfully, his voice carrying a hint of longing. Harry, polite and curious, engaged the ghost in conversation. "Can't you? I haven't eaten for nearly 500 years. The ghost revealed, a touch of melancholy in his tone. "I don't need to, of course, but one does miss it. I don't think I've introduced myself. Sir Nicholas de Mimsy Porpington at your service, resident ghost of Gryffindor Tower." Neville's eyes widened in recognition as he listened to the ghost's introduction. The famous Gryffindor ghost. The name was familiar to Neville, who had heard stories about the ghostly inhabitant of Gryffindor Tower from his grandmother.
"I know who you are,"
Ron exclaimed suddenly, his face lighting up with recognition. "My brothers told me about you. You're nearly headless Nick." "I would prefer you to call me Sir Nicholas de Mimsy," the ghost began, his tone hinting at a desire for proper respect, but he was swiftly interrupted by the inquisitive Seamus Finnegan. "Nearly headless? How can you be nearly headless?" Seamus blurted out, his curiosity getting the better of him as he leaned in, his sandy hair tousled in excitement. Sir Nicholas, looking rather miffed at the interruption and the casual reference to his unique condition, decided to make a point. "Like this," Sir Nicholas retorted, seizing his left ear and giving it a sharp tug. Neville's eyes widened in disbelief as he witnessed the ghastly sight that followed. In a gruesome display, Sir Nicholas's entire head swung off his neck, hanging precariously on his shoulder as if on a hinge. The scene was enough to make Neville's stomach churn. It was clear to Neville that someone had indeed attempted to behead the ghostly knight, but their execution had been far from flawless, leaving him in a rather unsettling state of near decapitation. As the ghostly knight nonchalantly flipped his head back onto his neck, nearly headless Nick seemed to revel in the reactions of the students, a mischievous twinkle in his transparent eyes as he addressed the new Gryffindors. "So, new Gryffindors, I hope you're going to help us win the House Championship this year. Gryffindor have never gone so long without winning. Slytherin have got the cup 6 years in a row. The bloody Baron's becoming almost unbearable. He's the Slytherin house ghost." Neville diverted his attention to the Slytherin table. A ghastly figure sat among the Slytherins, his presence exuding an aura of malevolence that sent shivers down Neville's spine. The ghost, identified as the Bloody Baron, bore a gaunt face, blank, staring eyes, and robes stained with what appeared to be silver blood. Neville couldn't help but feel a wave of unease wash over him at the sight of the intimidating Slytherin ghost. "How did he get covered in blood?" Seamus inquired, his eyes alight with curiosity. Nearly headless Nick, ever the diplomatic ghost, responded delicately. "I've never asked," he admitted, choosing to leave the mystery of the Bloody Baron's gruesome appearance unanswered. When the main course was over, the food vanished, leaving behind gleaming plates ready for the next course. Soon the puddings appeared, a mouth-watering array of delectable treats that made Neville's stomach grumble. Ice cream in a myriad of flavours, apple pies, treacle tarts, chocolate eclairs, jam donuts, trifle, strawberries, jelly, and rice pudding adorned the tables, tempting the students with their sweet offerings. As Neville indulged in his favourite desserts, engaging in lively chatter with his fellow Gryffindors, the topic of conversation shifted to their families. Seamus Finnegan, with his characteristic wit, shared a humorous anecdote about his mixed heritage. "I'm half and half. Me dad's a muggle. Mam didn't tell him she was a witch till after they were married. Bit of a nasty shock for him." The group erupted into laughter at Seamus's tale. Ron turned to Neville, prompting him to share his own family story. "What about you, Neville?" "Well, my gran brought me up and she's a witch," Neville began, his voice steady but tinged with vulnerability. His friends listened intently. "The family thought I was all muggle for ages." He recounted the peculiar antics of his great-uncle Algy, who had made numerous attempts to coax magic out of him, often to no avail. "He pushed me off the end of Blackpool Pier once. I nearly drowned," Neville admitted, a hint of lingering fear in his voice. Neville's recounting took a lighter turn as he described a pivotal moment in his childhood. "But one day great-uncle Algy came round for tea," Neville narrated, a faint smile playing on his lips. "He was hanging me out of an upstairs window by the ankles when my great-auntie Enid offered him a meringue, and he accidentally let go. I should have died, but somehow I bounced all the way down the garden and into the road. They were all really pleased. Gran was crying. She was so happy." The Gryffindors cheered and clapped. "And you should have seen their faces when I got in here. They thought I might not be magic enough to come, you see. Great-uncle Algy was so pleased he bought me my toad." As Neville finished his story, the plates and platters on the Gryffindor table vanished, signalling the end of the meal. The great hall fell into a hush as Professor Dumbledore rose to his feet once more. "Just a few more words now we are all fed and watered," Professor Dumbledore began, his voice projecting with a gentle authority that drew the focus of the hall to him. "First years should note that the forest in the grounds is forbidden to all pupils, and a few of our older students would do well to remember that as well." Neville was certain Dumbledore's gaze fell upon the Weasley twins for a moment, and then continued his speech. "I have also been asked by Mr. Filch, the caretaker, to remind you all that no magic should be used between classes in the corridors. Quidditch trials will be held in the second week of term. Anyone interested in playing for their house teams should contact Madam Hooch. And finally, I must tell you that this year, the third-floor corridor on the right-hand side is out of bounds to everyone who does not wish to die a very painful death." The words hung in the air, sending a collective shiver down the spines of the students. Neville's initial reaction was one of disbelief. Could this be some elaborate joke? But the seriousness etched on Dumbledore's face quickly dispelled any doubts. Before Neville could dwell further on the implications of the headmaster's words, Dumbledore's voice interrupted his thoughts once more. And now, before we go to bed, let us sing the school song." The abrupt shift in tone caught Neville off guard, and he noticed the strained smiles on the faces of the other teachers. With a casual flick of his wand, Dumbledore caused a long golden ribbon to shoot out, soaring above the tables and weaving itself into words in a snake-like manner. "Choose your favorite tune," instructed Dumbledore, "and let's begin." The entire school erupted in a chorus of voices. "Hogwarts, Hogwarts, hoggy, warty Hogwarts, teach us something, please. Whether we be old and bald or young with scabby knees, our heads could do with filling with some interesting stuff. For now they're bare and full of air, dead flies and bits of fluff. So teach us things worth knowing. Bring back what we've forgot. Just do your best. We'll do the rest, and learn until our brains all rot." Each person finished the song at their own pace. Eventually, only the Weasley twins remained, singing to the somber tune of a funeral march. Dumbledore used his wand to conduct the final lines of their performance, applauding enthusiastically when they finished. "Ah, music," he remarked, dabbing at his eyes. "A magic beyond all we do here. And now, bedtime. Off you trot." Led by Percy, the Gryffindor first years trailed through the bustling crowds, exiting the Great Hall and ascending the marble staircase. They navigated through secret passages, concealed behind shifting panels and ornate tapestries that whispered secrets of Hogwarts' past. Each step up the winding staircases seemed more challenging than the last, the group's weariness evident in their yawns and dragging feet. Neville couldn't help but wonder how much farther they had to trek when their journey abruptly came to a halt. Ahead of them, an odd sight greeted them. A cluster of walking sticks hovered in mid-air, poised as if ready to attack. As Percy cautiously approached, the walking sticks began hurling themselves in his direction, causing a stir among the tired group. "Peeves," Percy whispered to the group, his tone cautious. "A poltergeist." He then called out, "Peeves, show yourself." In response, a loud, impolite noise filled the air, resembling the sound of air escaping a balloon. Percy threatened, "Do you want me to go to the bloody Baron?" With a pop, a mischievous-looking man with dark eyes and a wide grin materialized, floating in the air with the walking sticks in his grasp. "Ooh!" he taunted with a malevolent chuckle. "Ickle firsties! What fun!" Peeves suddenly swooped towards them, prompting the group to instinctively duck. "Go away, Peeves, or the Baron will hear about this. I mean it!" Percy commanded sternly. In response, Peeves stuck out his tongue before vanishing, dropping the walking sticks onto Neville's head. They could hear Peeves zooming away, causing a clamour as he passed by the suits of armour. "You'd want to watch out for Peeves," said Percy as they set off again. "The bloody Baron's the only one who can control him. He won't even listen to us prefects. Here we are." Neville, along with his fellow first years, followed Percy as they approached the portrait of a plump woman in a striking pink silk dress at the far end of the corridor. "Password?" the portrait inquired. "Caput Draconis," Percy replied promptly, causing the portrait to swing open, revealing a round hole in the wall. The group hurriedly made their way through. Neville needed a helping hand to pass through the entrance, and soon found themselves in the warm and inviting Gryffindor common room. The room exuded coziness, with plush armchairs scattered about, inviting tired students to relax and unwind. Percy then directed the girls towards their dormitory through one door and the boys through another. Ascending a spiral staircase, confirming they were in one of the towers, they finally reached their beds. 5 four-posters adorned with luxurious deep red velvet curtains. Their trunks had already been delivered, awaiting their owners. Neville found himself sharing a dormitory with Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Dean Thomas, and Seamus Finnegan. Eager to capture every detail of his first day, Neville promptly retrieved his quill and parchment, settling down to write a detailed letter to his grandmother, recounting the magical experiences and the new friendships he had made on his very first day at Hogwarts. "Dear Gran, I hope this letter finds you well. I wanted to share with you all about my first day at Hogwarts. It was truly magical. When you left me on the train, something amazing happened. I met Harry Potter. Can you believe it? The Harry Potter. We hit it off right away and became fast friends. After meeting Harry, I also made 2 more friends, Ron and Hermione. Together, the 4 of us shared a boat ride to Hogwarts over the Black Lake. The sight was breathtaking. Arriving at Hogwarts, it was time for the sorting ceremony. And guess what, Gran? I got sorted into Gryffindor. I did it. I can hardly believe it myself. It feels like a true honor to carry on the family tradition. But here's the best part. Harry Potter is also a Gryffindor, and we share a dormitory. Can you imagine the odds of that happening? On a side note, Trevor is doing just fine. He seems to have settled in quite well and is enjoying his new home at Hogwarts. I wish you could see the smile on my face right now, Gran. Hogwarts is everything I ever dreamed of and more. Thank you for always supporting me and believing in me. I can't wait to tell you more about my adventures at this wonderful place. Sending you all my love. Neville." As Neville finished his letter, he settled into bed, eager for his first day of lessons tomorrow.